You're an interesting team in that regard. Is you've got big stars in the team. You've got guys that battle all the way up. I always kind of marvel when you're pitching to Caleb Joseph, and you've gone through the stuff you've gone through. Caleb's wife talked him out of quitting a couple of years ago. He was going to go coach at Lipscomb College where he played baseball, and you can obviously identify with that. The decision of doing that. You had other things you could have done. There are probably points in your, when you had a labrum or something where you started considering, well, maybe go to med school, maybe do something else. And he came, head on to that decision. He made the other decision, and she said, no, give it one more year. And he ends up in a situation 2 years ago with you guys where he has to steps in very well. But this is a guy who had a day for him in Bowie because he played 400 games there. And I wonder if is there a certain respect that comes from you to a guy like that that's different from the respect you have for an Adam Jones for being the player he is, or a Chris Davis for being the player he is. That there's something about it on a character level that's got to mean something to you.
Caleb's one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. Because of his personality, but to be able to do that, to battle through all that time in the minor leagues, because it is a dream job to be able to play baseball. But when you're stuck going to the same place every year and not really getting promoted or moving on, it's natural to think, well, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not good enough. You start self-doubting. Well, to Caleb's credit, once that, like I said before, the series of events transpired where he's in the big leagues and he's got to perform, or that might be it. He performed admirably and kind of opened some eyes, and he just got up there, and there were reports that his defense was suspect. I can tell you that's absolutely not the case. He got up there and learned so fast, learned a few things about catching, setting up, about throwing to second, and he's as good as anybody in the league, in my book.
I've never heard any pitcher complain about him on or off the record.
No.
And I can say this, in early years, I had heard some with Wieters, who's known as the great defensive catcher.
Yeah.
And still, some pitchers were,
Yeah.
That might just mean that you guys are a close group and you wouldn't complain about a guy, but it just seems to me that in a surprisingly short time, you guys got very comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I think Caleb would be the first to vouch about how much he's learned from Wieters. He's awesome too. We're spoiled here with our catchers. Both smart, extremely cerebral, physically gifted. Both of them are good hitters too. So, we got two starting big league catchers here, which really is a luxury. And both guys, like you said, kind of that juxtaposition of their paths to the big leagues it's a pretty cool story in itself.
We talked 4 or 5 days ago about looking at the offense from the bullpen or wherever you're watching a game from at a given time. This offense now has 9 guys, I believe has 8 guys that would be project to 25 home runs in a best case scenario, or way more, maybe 9, because you don't really have a book on Kim, and we'll see what happens with him. And even Scope just didn't have a full season, so he's still got a good home run ratio over the last 2 years. He's 31 home runs and 600 at-bats or something like that. Talk again a little bit about what it's like from a pitching staff point of view, both projecting what you would think of starter things, but also as relievers, what that means to have this is pretty close to unprecedented firepower in one lineup.
It's a tough lineup to pitch to, man. That's why I signed back here. I didn't want to pitch to our guys. It's a big demoralizer when the other team, they push across a run. Well, we step up and we hit a 3-run homer, or they take a lead and then we put a 5 spot on the board. There's going to be a lot of that this year, and it's kind of what my time here we've kind of been based on, getting a few guys on base, hitting a home run, or we're always in games, even late in games. That's why, as a bullpen guy, I think bullpen first. The back end of the bullpen is so important, because if you're down by 3 in the 6th inning, and that 7th guy in your bullpen, goes out and just gives it up, then you're out of the game. Now you're down by 10. If he keeps it tight, maybe CD or Manny steps up in the 8th and hits a 3-run homer, and we're in it. We're back in it. So, as a starting pitcher, you get a little cushion. There's no better way to pitch with a little cushion. As a reliever, we know that no matter what, we're always in a game, just because of the kind of firepower these guys have.